You guys can learn things, by the way, about how I write the emails to get people on these boot camps. When you receive emails from us, always think of it from two perspectives. Perspective number one is what's in it for me as the lawyer, right? What can I learn from this email? But secondly, more importantly, is how can I use the way that this copywriting is being done to expand my law firm? So, this is part of also what we're going to be doing on this Internet Marketing Bootcamp. This will be different from our last ones because it's a lot more structured. I'm going to show you how we put on the webinars, which there's so many lessons you can take away from how we've pulled off these webinars. My brand, we were a pretty, I'd say decently well-known company before this, but now we've pretty much become borderline omnipresent in terms of our brand voice. Our branded searches for our business on Google have skyrocketed as a result of the webinar. So I'm going to show you how I promote the webinars, how I put together the Zoom, screen share links, which again, this is something that's important for you guys because when you're doing either a one-to-one call, it seems like, based on what Jay presented to us, it's going to be important that you have a virtual meeting strategy in place so that you can have at least 50 to 75% of your client meetings going on virtually. You're not going to be wanting to push people to meet at your law firm physically. I think this is an awesome opportunity because so many law firms, when they get a lead, right? A lead will call your law firm, and unknowingly, a lot of lawyers scare leads away by making it too hard for leads to get back in contact with the law firm. So for example, you get a phone call, and we're going to be talking about how to get the phone calls, through some of these new topics we're going to go through. But once you get a lead at your law firm, this is something I can speak confidently on. I was the number one ranked sales rep at a $2 billion company with no experience. Some things come naturally to people. Sales for me was something that came naturally to me. Now, I worked my ass off to get good at sales. I have a 6.5 hour course that I really just did for my own company, for my own, to master sales. I have scripts for how to handle objections, how to handle the first call, the second call, how to follow up with people when they went dark. I have all of this systemized because it was overflowing in my head. The point I wanted to make was it's going to, one of the things we're going to go through is how do I put on these webinars? I'm going to reverse engineer how we do it. How do we set up the Eventbrite Zoom? Because you're going to have to learn how to do this with your clients in some way, shape, or form. So I'm going to teach you principles that allow you to connect with your potential clients better via video, because this is an awesome thing that's going to save you a lot of time. The surprise guest that I'm going to be bringing on about halfway through is so impressive. Do not be fooled by his age. This guy will be running a multi-million-dollar practice by next year in PI. This kid put it all on the line. We were very close friends in high school. We're very similar in our levels of motivation. So that surprise guest is going to be really exciting because you'll be able to see since he's a quote unquote millennial, right? He's young. He's already doing these things. He's already doing virtual consultations, right? When he gets a lead, that lead either signs his DocuSign when it's on that phone. He's on a FaceTime with that lead immediately. He is immediately assuming that he's going to turn that lead into a client. And I'm hoping that when I show you how we put on the webinars, how we market the webinars, you're going to learn some gems that you can take away for when you're getting an abundance of leads, once your state opens back up. So I'm excited about that. Another thing I found is really important. It's not exciting, but you guys got to get energized about is how to identify your unique selling proposition. And I know that sounds like, oh, we've heard it before, marketing class. It's the highest value activity you could ever do in marketing. If you don't know what makes your firm unique based on its current size, and you don't have a way in a couple of seconds to explain that, you're going to hear James do this. I mean, he is a master at sales. Sorry, I just said his name. I'm not going to give up his name again, hopefully. But he is a sales guy. I mean, when you hear the way he's doing this, pulling this off, I mean, his caseload has barely dropped at all because he's following different sales strategies, which we're going to go through. Again, once you identify your unique selling proposition, I don't care what size your firm is at, you can use that on all of your sales calls. Big mistake lawyers make is they have receptionists answering their sales calls, right? The problem with that is when you have receptionists answering your sales calls, they don't feel the oomph to sell someone on why your firm is the ideal choice. Your team internally, they don't know what legal services you provide that should be lower cost, right? And owning that and more systemized services that are like foot in the doors versus what is your differentiator service? For example, for those of you, I know Lance on the call, he's familiar with Crisp Video Group, Mike Mogo. Their differentiator service is their videos. That is their differentiator service. Some lawyers, their differentiator service is that high net worth divorce, niche, as an example, or felony cases or whatever. Identifying what your unique selling proposition is by each segment of your law firm is so important for your staff so that they don't feel like you're undermining your quality of service for certain things that you do. So I talked about the surprise guest. I'm going to show you how to put on your own webinar like we do, getting thousands and thousands of lawyers on these webinars, which you guys could use for any niche. I could already hear the thoughts going in. Oh, there's privacy issues with criminal defense. There's issues with PI. How am I going to get people? Guys, Sarah Kaki was on the call today for a reason. So funny. It feels like yesterday. So much went on this morning. Sarah Kaki was on this call because I picked her to be on this call because I see what she's doing. She's got it right. She does family law for one of her practices. She's not worried about that, though. She's worried about getting hundreds of people on webinars, creating a movement around her becoming a thought leader in her market in Atlanta. And hey, if some people that come out of that are future clients of hers, it's awesome. If not, no big deal. She got tons of free attention by doing the webinars. So I'll show you how to do that. I'm going to show you how to release a piece of content and get an ROI from it immediately so that you don't have to wait for it to rank on SEO. I thought that would be a cool thing for me to show you. Then we're going to go through my top 3 competitive research tools, the ways that you can spy on your competitors. It's so important that you go through this stuff now while you still have time. When your state reopens, this is my personal biggest fear right now is like as soon as all of this passes, what's going to happen? Are we all just going to go back to our normal ways of doing things? Sometimes the chains of habit are too soft to be felt until they're too hard to be broken, right? Sometimes the chains of habit, right, you can be going through the motions, right? But you could sacrifice your best life's work in that process. I always say that good is the enemy to great. And sometimes your deepest skills form your deepest ruts. I'll say that again. Make sure you remember this like takeaway. Sometimes your deepest skills, the things that you feel like you're pumping and moving with, oh, I'm going to go through another month, do the same things I did last month. Oh, I'm going to go through another month, do the same things I did last month. Another month, do the same things I did last month. Another month, same things I did. What happens is you trap yourself in your habit patterns. Human beings naturally, they just like doing the things that are predictable. Oftentimes, if you have a high value task sitting right here and a quick task that you can just check off and feel good about, most human beings are going to go for the checklist item, right? Most human beings are just going to, for that little dopamine hit, right? So that's why I'm so adamant about my productivity planner. For those of you who are in the Lawyer Mastermind Club, you guys have probably downloaded this and are hopefully using it as of now. This is why it's so important for me to be aware of the most important tasks. Here, I'll draw this out actually for you guys. I didn't plan on doing this. Let's see if I can do it. So we have this chart, which is, so we have the chart, right? This is it's some matrix as they call it. We have the, urgent, important, not urgent, important, not urgent, not important, and then urgent, not important, right? Ideally, this whole section, anything that's not important, should be removed from everything you do in your law firm. Anything that is clearly, not important, right, needs to be either delegated, systemized, or given up. And right now, there's a huge opportunity to operate in the important category, right? So right now, like for example, when I started putting on these webinars, it was not urgent, but it was important, right? It was not urgent, but it was important. So this was the highest value activities are right here. They're things that aren't urgent, but are important. The thing that seems like you should always be spending your time on are the things that appear to be urgent and important. And what we're talking about in this call is the things that are not urgent, but yet very important. So now I had some questions before I time in. Telling me to not spend time on things that aren't important. Got it. Yes. Very important. Yeah, I know, Christine. So without further ado, I'm just going to dive right into the stuff and stop messing around. So draw this out all the time. I'm in a habit every freaking day. I draw out everything that's not important. That's how I've been able to grow my company 300% year over year, to go from having 3 employees to 12 employees in 1 year. Is I have no problem giving up tasks. I have no problem letting go of things that I identify as either not my unique ability or things that are not important. So as long as we're clear on that, I'm going to dive in first to creating your prime metrics sheet, okay, which is very important. And for those of you who don't know me, I'll give you a very quick story. So 2007 was a awesome year for me. I qualified for nationals racing dirt bikes. I've broken 19 bones. A lot of you guys don't know. I've broken my upper arm. I've broken 3 ribs. I've lacerated my spleen. I've broken both collarbones. I've had reconstructive knee surgery twice. My left arm is 4 inches shorter than my right arm because I broke my growth plate up here. I have been through the ringer. The worst injury I ever had was when I broke my back and was a millimeter away from being paralyzed, which happened about 3 months after I qualified for nationals. I was very lucky to walk after that injury. If it was a millimeter hit in a different spot, the doctor said I wouldn't have walked ever again. And ever since that, time, I've been on a mission of gratitude. When you get that close to not walking again, it really forces you to put things in perspective. After that, I'm very grateful for everything that happened with my family, going bankrupt and my dad's near suicide, because it taught me, what can happen on the negative side of a recession. Taught me what happens when you contract, when the economy is telling you to, and you don't create your own plans. It taught me the importance of staying the course and not abandoning what's working, no matter what's happening around you. So I'm so grateful for everything I went through with my family going bankrupt and everything we owned getting repossessed, because it's fueled me with this fire, which, I like positive news. When other people win, I love that. Like, I'm the person that's going to clap loudest. I'm the person that's going to cheer loudest, because I like hearing success. And when I say, earlier today, that, our company is going to have our absolute best month in 3 years since this company was an inkling of an idea to today. We will have our best month this month. And we will have our highest profit margin and our highest revenue month. You can look at that. You can roll your eyes. You can say, boo-hoo, good for him. All of that's just going to put yourself in a stronger prison. The reason why we're having hundreds and hundreds of lawyers on these boot camps, on the webinars, is because we're creating a movement. And I appreciate that, Sharon. I'm seeking people. I'm reaching out to people who are beyond me, that make me feel like a dumbass every day. I'm going to show you some of the emails, right? You guys saw all the speakers today on the webinar. You guys saw it all sounds good and great. Oh, the webinar. Oh, look at the image. Look at the topics. Oh, it's so good, right? You don't understand the work that goes into pulling off the webinars. Getting Alexander Shinara on the webinar was the hardest thing I've ever done. It took me 4 weeks emailing him. It took multiple texts from Seth Price. It took complete grit and persistence. I've emailed John Morgan. I've Facebook messaged John Morgan, emailed him. By the way, I used a email hunting tool to find his email, it's a background check tool that you'd use to look up people's criminal backgrounds. That's how I found his email. That's how I found Alexander Shinara's email. That's how intense I went to find these speakers. It's freaking hard work. And the reason why I felt this need to do this as soon as COVID hit is because I'm fueled by recessions. I saw my whole family crumble in front of me in moments like this. And I just won't fucking tolerate it. Like, I will not let this happen. And, that level of resolve, the people on this call, I know you have it in you. I know that you came here because you have that spark. This email was probably sent to over, 10, 15,000 people, 1,000 lawyers, right? And 179 of them right now are on this call right now. So I know everyone on this call has that spark. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. So it's time for us to think big and think expansive. So the first thing I want us to do is I want us to set a couple of our KPIs. Again, this is what we've done the last couple of times. We need to know what our outcome is before anything else takes place. So the first thing is we're going to go into our prime metric sheet. So I want you guys to start getting clear on your goals. Light up the chat. Be open about your goals. Do not feel that you need to hide your goals from people. It drives me crazy that people hide their revenue goals. Like that is like the top thing for a business. If you don't have revenue, you can't have profit. You can't shave off expenses and increase profit margin. So we need to get crystal clear and scream to the universe, here are my targets. These are my goals. So that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to spend about 5 minutes on it. I need everyone on this call to get crystal clear on what are your targets. So I'm going to pull this up right now. This is our prime metric sheet. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen, and I expect the chat to light up with goals. You guys remember I shared this? So write down some of your goals. Here are some of my goals for the year. Some of my goals are I want to finish this year, and keep in mind, this is May to December, okay? I'm not thinking about this month. If you just think on monthly terms, I need to get this many leads per month. I need to get this. If you just think in monthly terms, especially with the volatility going around in the market right now, you're going to make bad long-term decisions. So I need you to be thinking for the end of 2020. So that maybe you'll have some down months, maybe you'll have some up months, but when all's said and done, what are your KPIs, right? So for me on Facebook, my KPI is my stories. So like that is the thing. If I post 3 or 4 Facebook stories a day, That works really well for me. Everything else falls into place. For me, it's just straight up posts on LinkedIn. How many posts did I do on my organic LinkedIn profile? YouTube, my number one metric is new videos, right? How many new videos did I post on my LinkedIn, on my YouTube channel? For those of you who don't know, throw me a subscribe, by the way, guys. We're coming up on 200 videos. You guys have been amazing with your support. We've interviewed, every thought leader in the space, Ben Glass, Andy Stickle, Seth, Jay, Lead Docket, Harlan Schillinger, Alexander Shinara. We have all these videos for free. 90% of them, I'd say, are on legal marketing. So that's my KPI for that. For PPC, for Google ads, my number one thing is I want a specific type of client, right? So I don't want just any clients from our PPC campaigns, from our Google ads campaigns. I want what are identified as tier 2 clients that fit a specific qualifier for our business. Facebook, my number one KPI for that is number of downloads. Facebook is a download platform, right? You put out something of value, people submit their info, they get a certain number of downloads. Blog posts, I want 16 power pages by the end of the year. I want 16 episodes of my podcast published, Lawyer Marketing Labs, by the end of the year. I want 36,000 lawyers to register for our webinars by the end of the year. I want a 20,000 opt-in email list. And I want 35-star Google reviews. I want 20 Facebook recommendations. I want 5 press releases, 30 interviews, 5 news appearances. I want to be on 50 stages, online or offline. Everyone thinks as stages as, physical public speaking stages. I'm going to actually show you guys how I structure speeches as well, so that you know what to say if you end up putting on your own quote unquote show of some sort. You can use this on sales calls. You can train your team on how to do this. Strategic relationships. The number one way that I measure that is if I got one new client from that strategic relationship, they are officially a strategic relationship. And I'm sure you guys know what I mean with your referral partners. When a firm sends you one case and you treat that firm well, the rest is a lot easier. So I'm a big proponent of setting very clear metrics. So I'm going to pop out real quick. I used to set goals based on monthly numbers, like 20 new clients a month. The reality is you should be doing that either quarterly or every half year, because there's ebbs and flows. And if you have a sales team, right, the sales team's going to feel like they're failures if they don't have, or if you're the person answering all the calls, they're going to feel like they're failures if they're below that number some months. And then they're going to feel like they're winners other months. So I've noticed that the delicate balance is to measure these things in 3-month chunks so that you can actually walk away with, the forgiveness of the ebbs and flows on a monthly basis.